Hello, and welcome to the deep dive with Scan and Dregas Malbourn. Thank you so much for watching. So to begin this video, let's talk about what is the purpose of the Nightborn. So the Nightborn are the first of 5 new factions that we'll be introducing on HOPE Society. That's going to take place throughout the course of this year. And the Nightborn were chosen as the first faction as they are designed for all players of all skill levels. We wanted to create a faction where everyone could participate in the currency collection process, whereas maybe some of our future factions will have significantly harder requirements, like it might require you to be a Grandmaster Fighter or Mage, something to that effect, to actually go in and fight the creatures of that type or their enemies in order to collect their resources. The Nightborn were also designed to help players roleplay and create their own stories for the world. We really get a lot of player feedback on HOPE Society. We try to do our best to incorporate it as much as possible, but we also wanted to give our players the ability to participate in the development and how the world evolves. So the Nightborn are for everybody. We want to be able to give players the ability to write stories about the Nightborn, and if it's something that we can do, we might bring it to life. Additionally, this faction will help shape the world with world events on a global scale. We will see the Nightborn tentatively change the landscape of our world over time. That's going to come with their relationship with some of the other factions. It may also come as new quests that we do and new enemies that are developed. The Nightborn overall care about the global safety of the world and consider themselves global protectors. So with currency collection, let's just talk about currency collection for a second. Currency collection is farmable right now across the server, but the real incentive here is to get player involvement and create custom stories and quests and ideas. Involve the community in developing this faction, and then when we host those server events, this will be an opportunity for players to join in for the faction event, and those events in themselves will reward a significant amount of the currency needed to collect for that specific faction. So for the Nightborn, for just a hypothetical, we could say the Nightborn need you to collect a specific magical item somewhere in the world, and that might involve fighting a world boss that we custom make just for that event, in which case all the people who show up to participate with defeating that boss may actually get a chance at getting like a significant more amount of Nightborn gems, the lost magical energy of the Nightborn. So let's jump in and get started here. Let's start with taking a tour of the town. All right, well, Dregas, would you care to join me in the Nightborn village?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right, so we decided to build the Nightborn village here in the Isle of Spears. And I guess maybe we should talk about how these guys even came to exist to begin with. So where did the Nightborn come from? The Nightborn originate from the Autumn Court, which is an area that's shrouded in darkness and unknown to mortals. There may be hints of the Autumn Court that are going to serve as future adventures for players to explore and learn more about the Nightborn origin. And other future factions may be involved with helping talk about the origination of the Nightborn, or maybe in league with the Nightborn, or maybe in competition with the Nightborn to some degree. So yeah, I'm really excited to learn more about the Autumn Court. We might see some hints of that in the future show up in our world, and more Nightborn information and background. It's really going to depend on some of our player stories that are written. Boo Slinger, thank you so much for the follow. And we started putting it together. So the Nightborn have actually been on our server for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now. But it was kind of a half-baked idea. I really wanted to give these guys a story and our races a story. And, last month I started talking to Dregas, and he has a love for role-playing and some D&D. Why don't you talk about that for a minute, Dregas?
Well, I've been doing Dungeons & Dragons since around 1982. I started when I was around 6 years old as a player, a little bit before that, but then I really started running my own stuff pretty much from 8 years old on. And so it's just been a constant part of my life. Everywhere I've been in the world, I've done Dungeons & Dragons at one point or another, and telling stories is part of what you do in D&D. So when I started looking through all the options, and I noticed that you had transmogs that had names like they were different races for different color skins, I was like, there's a story here that hasn't been told yet. So I think that's what really started, my engine running as far as, hey, there's something I can help out with here. I could maybe possibly write some lore here and give a background, so it's not just I'm a purple guy.
Exactly. I came down here and I've been looking. If you look at our world map, we have so many locations that I've custom added to our world. These are all those little icons are discoverable locations and contain something fun to do or something fun to fight. So over the last year, we've really focused on putting more content in the world. Since we are a PVE server, it's been challenging to feel like the wilderness is really valuable to you, simply because on official servers it's mostly left pretty open and blank around each region, for the PvP aspect. But since we don't have that, we've tried to add a lot of more danger into the world. And right now, most of our population kind of stands around the Upper Plains region. That's where most people have aggregated in this game. So I wanted to find a way to kind of pull people out of the Upper Plains and look at more of some of these remote regions.
So, why did the Nightborn live on the Isle of Spears? I really wanted to help distribute the population into more remote areas. What this does is helps improve the overall server performance with our population distributed across the world, as opposed to aggregated into a central location. And the Isle of Spears was empty. It's pretty much an unused area in the world. It had nothing worth exploring. This gives a really good opportunity for us to do some more development there. Maybe even make some custom creatures like wisps or some unique ents that are friendly with the Nightborn or enemies of the Nightborn. There's just a lot of stories that still can be told here. So, who is the Nightborn Artist? The Nightborn Artist is kind of a new merchant type that's going to be a source for decorations such as plants, paintings, and rugs. May be able to expand more cosmetic options based on player feedback. I often get a lot of wishlist items that say, hey, I wish I could make this, or hopefully as we get more involved in the Nightborn, players can say, hey, I wish I had this in a Nightborn theme. And that way we can keep adding more cosmetic things into the Nightborn Artist. In addition, it also has a character customizer in a shop that will allow you to change your character and actually join the Nightborn faction if you're a big fan. Lastly, he has kind of a snooty personality and shows an air of superiority to his guests. Kind of thinks he's better than you. So that was kind of a fun little dialogue that Dregas was able to put together for us. He's just kind of a fun little merchant from my standpoint. Anything else you want to add about this guy?
Only that, again, I think that as time goes on, the artist actually has a great amount of possibilities of little items we can add that do exactly what you're talking about, give aesthetic value.
Next up, Dregas, let's take a tour of the Nightborn Inn. The Nightborn Inn regenerates vitality, but it doesn't do it in the conventional sense. It's not regenerating vitality directly from the hearth. but the whole building itself is regenerating your vitality upon entry. The building is a craftable blueprint, so this is a really good example for players who want to come in and check out what the Nightborn Tavern actually looks like. And it's kind of a fun place to hang out. We got a couple of drunken adventurers. There are also Nightborn who like to wander around the inn and dance. They might be considered locals who are just hanging out, having a good time. And if players want to be able to bind their hearts here, this is something that we might consider doing in the future. I guess it's going to depend on some of the player feedback and how involved the community wants to help develop the Nightborn.
And it also looks like the perfect place to have maybe a server festival at some point for fun.
Yeah, actually, we'll talk. There's a community area right outside here too, so this might be a good congregation place. Looks like one of our players was just up here, but there's a couple secret chests that live up in these bedrooms that players can also lockpick. Kind of a, reward for actually exploring everything.
Yeah.
And I do like these cauldrons. These cauldrons have been a lot of fun. They actually emit a green glow, kind of like the mushrooms. So when I place them in different areas, it just kind of changes the lighting that we're all used to. And that one seems to blend in with the floor pretty good. Alright. Really excited about this. This is the Nightborn Theater. It's just a community area or a meeting place. I thought it would be cool for players to be able to come here and hang out and do events. If players want to role play or have a meeting, there's just a lot of options here. What do you think, Dregas?
Oh, absolutely. I can even see some of the old in Ultima Online. I remember one time on Great Lakes server, people did Shakespeare in the Park.
Oh my gosh, a full rendition of Shakespeare in the Park on a UO server? That's really funny and creative. Next up, let's go hop into the blacksmith and take a look at what we got going on in there. So the forges, I love the look in this building. The forges have all the Nightborn forges have all the anvil properties added to them, so they're functional now as a blacksmithing tool. It's something I've always wanted. It's always really annoyed me that you couldn't interact with a forge. I think maybe at one point in time in Citadel's history, you could smelt iron or smelt ingots onto the forge, but ever since I've been developing, that's never been an option. So yeah, you can collect this Nightborn forge and use it as an anvil if you desire. The blacksmith carries face steel armor. It's a really nice and powerful set, similar to some of the other Nightborn items that we've seen. It's going to basically give you a plus bonus to each stat, and each item has up to 1,000 durability per item, so it will definitely last a long time. We actually custom designed face steel ore. You'll see it on the table here in the building, but we haven't actually found a reason for it to exist yet. So the ingots on the table represent kind of an Easter egg for future possibilities. I love the idea of having the capability of face steel, but we really want to focus on making sure that each faction has kind of its own crafting specialty, and for us, the Nightborn really embody dreamwood and carpentry. They've spent the most time living among the trees and learning how to shape the trees with their magics. And as Dregas might say, most Fey types don't actually like iron. It's not lore relevant to them. So as the Nightborn progress, we do have an option to add their own custom ore and ingots if we so chose. So that might be a possibility. It's really going to depend on how we start shaping stories for these guys. The Dreamstone Braziers, as you'll see, they're kind of located all over town. This might be a fun item that we could add to the blacksmith. I think it's one of the few items in the town that are not outright purchasable. Otherwise, pretty much everything you see in town is you can basically buy off a merchant somewhere.
Because again, these are people that, they do have some human heritage. They're not just elves, so they kind of they understand both worlds, so to speak. They're children of both worlds.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They're like I said before, we need a reason for it to be there, for it to exist. But like I said, that's just as much effort as inventing a reason for it. And player feedback's also important too. So we want you guys to get involved and help shape the Nightborn and talk to Dregas about your ideas for them and write stories for them. Dregas is not the sole author of the Nightborn. He is my confidant and counterpoint. But if you have some ideas of things that you think the Nightborn could do, please feel free to share it. We'd love to hear some stories and some ideas right from our own community, and maybe we'll turn it into a reality and something fun everybody can do.
All right, this is not my story or Scan's story. In the end, it's all of our stories. So the more we contribute, the more ideas come up, the more things that are going to cause them to flesh out and look even better. I mean, I can't think of one wrong reason not to incorporate other players' thoughts into the process. We want it to be enjoyable for everybody.
I agree. That's the whole reason I want to do this. We have like over 600 objects of armor and weapons. I got to tell you, I was getting really tired of designing armor and weapons all the time. Like I think we're really well rounded out as far as different tiers of armor that you can make, different recipes you can collect. You can fight stuff and collect recipes. You can craft order and collect recipes. Well, I just got tongue-tied. But yeah, I want to work on more world development, more content, more reasons to go places. So that's going to be a big focus this year for our server, is creating custom environments like this, and then creating a lore behind it. And yeah, player feedback's really important to that process. So how about we run up to the architect here and go take a look at what he's offering. He's arguably one of the most important NPCs in the village.
Alrighty.
So this is our Nightborn architect. He's got on display what he's offering here. He actually has the recipes as well as the blueprints for the custom houses that you can build. And he is the source of collecting Dreamwood. So right now, the only way a player can actually collect Dreamwood is by trading in their gems for the resource. So that's my decision. Eventually, maybe we might turn these purple trees. It was really fun to actually put these purple trees right outside this building here. We might make these purple trees like lumberjack capable at some point, but for right now, if your main goal, and I really like to give players decisions, and not only just decisions, but really hard decisions to make. Like, what do I want the most out of this? Do I want the Starfall bow? Do I want crafting recipes? Do I want the house? You can't have all of it at the same time, so you really have to make a decision and plan what is it that you're going after. I really wanted that to be a strategic process of these factions. So let's talk about these recipes here for a second. First up, we have the Nightborn flute. You want to talk about that from a lore standpoint at all, Dregas?
Well, again, with thinking about the more elven nature of where the Nightborn come from, when we were trying to consider what instrument would probably make the most sense for them, it really felt like the flute would, in terms of, what was available. That they would, that'd be the first thing that they would carve out of bone or out of wood, or shape out of wood, I should say. So the flute was important to also give bards another tool, so to speak, to play with, because right now, we have some really cool drums, but there really weren't a lot of cool flutes out there to do anything with. So again, kind of as Scan and I have been talking, we've been kind of looking over what's already out there, what he's already spent time building, and trying to decide, hey, how can we fill a hole and add a neat story item to the world that gives a purpose for, hey, this is why this flute is here. It's not just a cool piece of loot. It actually has a functioning game that's tied to the story of the Nightborn.
I might also add another caveat, is that funny thing is I cannot change the color of a lute, and we already have a magic drum. So from a developer standpoint, I think a flute was a pretty good obvious option. But you're right, Dregas. It just, they might whistle. A flute kind of goes along with that. They're subtle hunters out here in the forests. They're very at one with nature, so it didn't make sense for them to be carrying around a guitar. Drums might be kind of cool, but from a developer standpoint, we already have some drums, and I didn't want to replicate that again. Next up, we have the Wand of Power. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Now you have to refresh my memory on that one. We've done a lot.
Sorry about that. Someone knocked on my door. Dog's going a little crazy. Let's talk about the wand. The wand is, I guess that was really more my purpose. We have a variety of different staffs already craftable in the game. There's 3 craftable staffs. The recipes are actually located on bosses in Contempt. I wanted that to be kind of fun because they're all wood-based crafting recipes, and I've always got a lot of wish list requests for wands. We do have a lot of casters who actually like to carry a shield. So this year we kind of made that a possibility. We've got some more magic shields based for casters in the world, so we can kind of do more of these paladin builds if you're a heavy fighter, or if you want to be like a cloth-based caster, you can still have a shield to give you that little extra protection. But the wands are really nice. It's a really big wand. I should see if I can make one here. So there's a good feature of the wand. It's a lot of fun. It's like
very interesting.
It's a really big mace.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that graphic myself.
Yeah, it's a new object. It's a really big object. I wanted the wand to feel unique and interesting. So we colored it purple, obviously. But it is kind of like a big scepter, more than maybe a wand. Maybe I should rename it to be called the scepter. But it's got some pretty good stats on it. Most of the Nightborn stuff is like our gear of power items. So on the Wand of Power, you get up to +3 of all stats, and then it gives you reduced mana costs, clear casting, spell power, and a chance to apply a magic amplification debuff. So that's also a new enchant that we've recently put into the world for the first time. That works just like one of the Bard riddles, but it actually works as a weapon proc. So if you hit something with it, in my case, this equipped weapon, I have a 14% chance to apply that debuff to an enemy. So it's basically the same as doing the Bard riddle to increase spell damage against that opponent. So that's kind of fun. It's a really unique item, and right now this guy has 500 durability on it. So if you make one of these, if you get the recipe and you craft them, what you're going to see with a lot of the items for the Nightborn is their durability is extremely high. And I think that is because of their careful crafting skills. So the plate armor items that they offer are 1,000, same with the cloth armor, and the weapons are up to 500. So this will give players a good chance to get one of these, work for the recipe and the resources to make it, and then hold on to it for a while and not feel like it's going to diminish very quickly. Plus as a caster, you're not taking a whole lot of melee damage if you're in a group. So yeah, kind of a fun item to carry around. Last up, we have our Dreamwood boards. So the architect's the one who's going to teach you how to, or is going to sell you the recipe to make Dreamwood boards. So for a handful of Nightborn gems, you'll be able to start making your own Dreamwood boards. It does take a little while to collect this recipe. Hopefully by the time you do, you have some appreciation for the Nightborn, you really like their style, and you want to kind of embody their items. So this will be really important moving forward as we add more and more carpentry recipes to the Nightborn as well. And let's talk about the dialogue here for a second on the architect. This is the one NPC that I think I wrote the dialogue for, right?
Correct. Well,
I think I lost you, Dregas. Can you try again?
I said you had a couple you wrote dialogue for, I believe, but yeah, I do remember you writing this one.
I think maybe you gave me the verbiage for this guy, but I lost it. Our chats are so long, so I'm sorry about that if that's the case.
No, I don't notice anything wrong, so.
So just to kind of point out, let's look at his dialogue here. On the second section of the dialogue, it says, "What's so special about a Nightborn house?" Here, the architect's actually telling our players that if you invest the time and energy to build either the Nightborn Villa or the Nightborn Tavern, we're going to reward you with bonus storage. So it says the dreamwood we build the houses with is actually imbued with magic. Each of the blueprints we offer provides its owner with additional magic storage. So how much magical storage? Both of our tavern and our villa models provide the owner with +5 storage capacity. So that means you can have 5 more secure chests. And if you're really crafty and you invest in, like, maybe say one of these Nightborn vaults that we see right next to the banker, these vaults also hold 200 items and up to 20,000 weight. So that really dramatically can expand the storage capacity of a player's house. So if your effort is not into decoration and design, but more like you want to keep a small place to live and be on adventures constantly, you can invest your time and energy into collecting these storage vaults and maybe collecting one of the Nightborn houses, and you'll be able to store a lot of content and items and gear that you've collected through our world.
I know there's a lot of people that have said both in game and in Discord that they're constantly running out of storage rooms, so here you go. A little work will get you exactly what you want.
Exactly, yeah. Let's reward the players that want to work for it. I'm all about that. I don't want to give out free stuff anymore. Like I admittedly have made things pretty easy at some point in time in this world. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching. This has been Scan and Dregas doing a deep dive over the Nightborn and the new faction system. I have added a new factions text channel to Discord underneath the guild chat options. This is a great place for you to share your feedback and ideas based on what you've seen here today. If you have a good idea for a Nightborn story or quest, feel free to post it. If you want to just write some straight up lore and just like be very imaginative with what the Nightborn might be able to do, you could also post your story in the role-playing channel too. Our next faction will be releasing on February 28th. This is going to be part of the Black Path server event hosted by Dregas Malbourn. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll be introducing a very difficult enemy faction. So while the Nightborn have been friendly, our next faction will be an enemy of the global society. So really looking forward to that. Again, thank you so much for watching. We love your feedback, and I hope you guys really enjoy where we're going.